Welcome to Papillion UnScripted. I am Michael Severe, the place to go to hear from people who truly help make Papillion feel like home. Joining us this week is the brand new Fire Chief for the City of Papillion, Robb Gottsch, joining us here. We appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
So with a name like Robert, you go by Robb, Bob, Robert, Bobby, what do you go by?
I go by Robb.
Okay.
So official name Robert, but Robb with two B's, R-O-B-B.
How did you come up with that?
In high school, I don't know why I wanted to change my name to that, but I did, and it's stuck with me ever since.
Yeah.
So being younger, I went by Robbie, R-O-B-B-Y. My family, called me that. And then when I got into high school, it was kind of wanted to change it up a little bit, I guess.
Like an adult, R-O-B-B.
Exactly.
I can never criticize the spelling of any first name, so you're fine.
You're right.
You have been on almost 2 months as we're taping this. Do you feel like you're in a good rhythm?
Yeah, I'm getting there. The first couple of weeks, I was thankful that I got to be with Bill Bowes, who was the retiring fire chief. And he kind of set me in a good course of where I needed to be and go. And when you come into a department that, I will say this, has a great foundation, things are going well, so there's not a lot of where I got to make quick decisions. It's really discovering and finding out what I don't know. There's a lot I don't know about things, and so you want to get out there, you want to meet the rank and file, you want to get some opinions back from your command staff, and then you start saying, okay, here's who I am as the fire chief, where do we want to go? And I think a lot of the process of applying for that position, that's what they were looking for, and I want to follow that same way in which I want to lead this department. But it's got a great foundation, has great people, so every day gets better. And the most encouraging thing is, and I just said this afternoon with somebody, was you have motivated folks that want to help you succeed as well. I don't have a lot of roadblocks that to me are, you figure this out, chief, and we're not going to help you.
Right.
So it is encouraging, and it really motivates me to want to say, okay, here's some things, and you have great people in place that are really helping me.
I thought Chief Bowes put a little pressure on you. I heard him say this multiple times. He said, Chief Gottsch is going to take this department in places I never could. It's a little bit of pressure for the guy who took it over when it was really this little department and to where it is now. That's a lot of pressure.
So I'll reflect on that
Okay.
from the standpoint of, here's Chief Bowes taking it from a volunteer to combination to what it is today, and I look at that as a huge accomplishment.
Right.
It goes back to just the vision things that I see as the department grows. We're in a community that's growing rapidly. There's things that we could be doing and I need to be looking at, and I appreciate him having that confidence in me, though I want to step back and say, where do I see us going?
Right.
At times. But I have some visions there, and as I said, the rank and file are really helping me, and as we grow, some of those things will just become very self-evident. What do we need? What are the citizens expecting for service? And here's my passion for that. And then it's working with the other team members, I'll say, the department heads of how do we get there together.
Yeah.
So
30 years in fire service, 7 as battalion chief, is that right?
About 7, yeah.
So that's obviously being in charge of a large group of people, but when you become in charge of everyone, what's the biggest difference in being chief that you've recognized in these 2 months?
Well, a lot of it is you have to delegate things, and from being a battalion chief where you were a little bit closer to some of the more operational things, that's not my area. My area is where are we going as a department, and am I getting the resources for those folks to do that? Yes, I want to be in tune with what they do operational wise, but I'm not standing there as an incident commander, so to speak, at incidents or showing up there to say, hey, I can do this better. I already trust that. That foundation has been set. And so it's just letting them continue to do what they do, and my encouragement to them, or my way of getting across it, if we see issues that come up, it's what do I need to do to help you get better at that? It's not so much that they failed, it's more of, oh, we're transitioning into something that we're not used to, and how do I provide the resources so that they can be prepared for those things?
Kind of like a head coach.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you had those head coaches that were kind of took over the offense or whatever. I'm the coach that says, I've got an offensive coordinator,
Right.
I've got a defensive coordinator, do your thing. Here's where I want to see the team go. So, and then it's just working with those other agencies as you work with city officials, as you work within the county. I'm seeing a lot of opportunities there of building good relationships. So how does our department take in their resources, or how can we provide resources to others? And I really like that. I think I'm a fit for that. You have to be a person that likes relationships and to build on that and to communicate. And I like that. And I like it too that I am not concerned about the day-to-day stuff. That stuff's getting handled. And I have good folks that are doing a great job doing that.
So why this job? Why City Papillion Fire Chief? Why'd you apply?
So in Omaha, I came to the end of my career there due to some retirement rules.
Okay.
And I felt I had a lot to give yet. I'm 53 years old.
You're a young guy.
Yes.
I can say that because I'm 53 years old.
I like it. I had been building into being a leader within a department, not realizing until the last 4 or 5 years working at Omaha Fire that, yeah, I really want to take on that challenge. And so it was Bill Bowes then at the same time kind of reached out to me saying, I think you would be a good fit for a department at that. And that was about 3 years ago. And so it kind of motivated me because I just thought, well, I do a lot of teaching at UNO and at Metro Community College in the fire sciences, and I thought that's where I would end up. And when Bill Bowes reached out to me just saying, you know, I think you are a fit for this department when I retire. Not that we lined it up that he would retire at the same time I would retire from Omaha Fire and make a smooth transition. That just happened. But I said, yeah, I think I'm ready for something like that. And I think I have the right attitude and mentality and relationship building attributes that people like.
Yeah.
And you have to be that way, I think, in some of these organizations. And I love the fire service. I'm second generation firefighter. My dad was a 27-year veteran at Omaha Fire. And I love the fire service. And so I am thankful that I'm here. I live in the community.
Yeah.
And it just, again, there was some things behind the scene which I would call the sovereign will of God that just opened up all these opportunities to put me here. And I am glad to be here.
Just so people know, this is not a job where you go online and just submit your resume and then they pick you. There's a lot to go through. Mayor mentioned it in City Council, but what was that process from when you applied? It gets narrowed down to, I guess, the last 3, and then what from there?
So it was a very, I will say this, that was one of the toughest assessment center evaluations that I've ever been through. So within the fire service, we get into a lot of not only what do you know from an educational standpoint or what's your resume show, but it's how do you handle things, how well do you speak, what do you see for vision within an organization? It was very heavy on what is your leadership style.
Right.
And for 3 days, it was presenting your leadership philosophy. Can you communicate that? Can you answer questions? And what's the progressive trends are changing in the fire service? They want to know about those things. What do you know about finances? What do you know about, one of the questions was the MFO, Mutual Financial Organization. How do you work with different entities that you get revenue sources from and help you pay for large purchases, capital purchases, fire stations, equipment? It was a very, very tough exam. And so at the end of the 3 days, you're just like, wow, just to get through it. But it wasn't something that I looked at and just went, phew. I liked how that process worked out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it really allowed me to speak who I am. And so they were very encouraged by that, but also confident that, yeah, this is the guy. This is how well he's done through all these activities. And then the mayor had his day with each one of us. And that was even good because I got to meet all the city council And your videos played a key role in me kind of learning about them. I got to meet, you know, a lot of the stakeholders when you think of the union president and the superintendent and the mayor of La Vista and some of the department heads. You met a lot of people, and you're just getting questioned from all sorts of directions, which again, I didn't feel uncomfortable about because I think it just assured them that this is who they want. This is the type of leader they want for this organization. And I appreciate that they saw an importance to that because you have 60 plus members that are thinking who's going to take over this place, and they have their input, and they had, this is who we think would be a fit and this is who we don't think, or whatever. But that process, I think, allowed us to stand different. Not to say the other candidates were wrong, it's just all comes down to how you lead and what's your vision on things, and we were different.
I think you meet all those people here in Papillion, everybody's kind of on the same page, right? You feel it's kind of a team. I always say it feels like Cheers, because everywhere you go, people are like, hey, Norm, you know, Michael, you know, it's always like really, everybody's on the same page, everybody's supporting Papillion.
Absolutely. So my first couple of meetings, you know, you're trying, like you said, trying to get to know people's names and that, and as you realize folks, and I like how it's just not in weekly staff meetings, it's at ribbon cuttings, it's at the half marathons, it's at public events. We'll have Papillion days, and you're working with all these folks. So you see them in different environments, not just in a meeting, not just in a leadership class. And that's what I like, and it's just interesting how I have just grown to really enjoy being around those folks, and I'm finding my fit. I think they enjoy being around me at this point. I haven't heard anybody say, well, he's different or whatever.
Did you bring the cookies to the meeting?
I do.
Okay, as long as you keep bringing the cookies.
I think that's all. I think that was the first test.
Yeah.
Because the first staff meeting by myself, Amber walked in and says, well, at least Rob followed orders and brought the cookies. So and I felt good about that. But yes, I feel very connected to these folks and love it. And I'm just looking forward to, again, that's another encouragement for me of just why I love being here. Because you just feel that folks coming around you to help you. And just the other day, Mike Kleffner from Public Works just says, hey, if you need to discuss things, let's talk about it. Because I'll need these other organizations to help me in a lot of areas, you know, and Mike's a big help to me for our training center we want to put out at Public Works, and we got to get some things going. And it was just encouraging to hear him say, hey, I'll help you with that. Great. Because a lot of times that's your baby, you get it done, I ain't got time for that. And so that's
kind of the small town feel.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So, and it makes me want to reciprocate back. How can I help these folks too with what I provide with, you know, fire safety, whatever that may be.
Born and raised in Omaha then, you mentioned your dad. What part of town?
The Benson area.
Oh, great. Did you go to Benson?
I did.
Okay.
Graduated in '88.
You're a bunny.
I am.
Fighting bunnies. Or, I don't I try to add it to make it a little tougher.
Exactly.
Yeah, did you play any sports?
I did. I was on the, so I played tennis and golf.
Right, nice.
And then I played basketball in the winter, and in 1988 we were the state runners-up.
Oh, wow.
In basketball, and that was one of my great accomplishments. Again, when you think about what team sports do for you in team building and sacrifice and working together, sports just really sets that for me, and I just bring it into organizations like this. So I'm that relationship guy that likes to work together as a team.
It probably was the first time getting to the finals since Dave Hoppin was there.
Correct.
With the Bunnies,
You're exactly right. And then we didn't win it, and then it was 2 or 3 years later, it was Andre Woolridge.
Oh, yeah.
When Benson won it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So anyway, but it was good to be part of that.
So after high school to college or to the military?
I went to the military. I spent 2 years in the Virginia area, Norfolk, Virginia. I was on a ship. I did 1 Mediterranean cruise, and just learned a lot about myself. I needed to get the GI Bill to go to college. I wanted to go to college. Came back after 2 years of active duty, did inactive duty, and went down to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. and majored in ag sciences, if you could believe that.
I think a lot of people at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln major in ag sciences. It's probably pretty popular.
Yes. And so I had about 2 years in, and that's when my dad said, hey, they're hiring for Omaha Fire. You're a veteran. You're in good shape. Why don't you come up and take the test? And I did really well and was hired in February of '93.
So as a kid, your dad being a firefighter, was that something that you wanted to do or no?
You know, it was there, but I guess it never really impacted me until he said, you should come up and try. You know, at that time I was just focused on getting my degree. I loved college. And then once that door was opened and I did well within the written and physical agility test, I went, yeah, maybe this is where I need to be. And then from there, I've just loved the fire service for my 30 years. I've been very fortunate to work my way up through the ranks, making captain at about 7 years. And then I was a fire investigator for 7 years and came back out into operations.
You kind of trained yourself to get this job. Just looking at your resume,
absolutely.
even your master's kind of walks you into that too. As business administration, is that right?
No, public administration.
Public administration, right?
Yeah. So, and then when I made battalion chief at 20 years, at that time I had applied for the fire chief's job as well. I think I was a chief 3 or 4 years. Applied for the fire chief's job, and didn't happen, but I was very competitive, and that kind of opened my eyes to maybe I do have some of the visions that they're looking for in running an organization. And then, as I said, it wasn't something that I said, I want to be a fire chief somewhere, so I'm willing to go anywhere. It was all about opportunity here in the Midwest. I wasn't planning on moving. And when Bill Bowes approached me and said, I think you'd be a good fit, I just was kind of taken back, but I think he saw those things that said, this is what would make you a good fit here. So you're exactly right, Michael. Everything I've done in my career, whether I realize it or not, led me to here. Really has prepared me. I don't know everything, but I think I have the tools and the stuff that has impacted me to send or to give to the members of the rank and file that I want to see them and motivate them and encourage them. And when it comes to some of these opportunities, particularly in government, particularly within public safety, it's all about opportunity. And what I try to tell the rank and file now is, yeah, you may not think you want to be a captain or a battalion chief or you want to go into a specialized area, but let's prepare yourself so if the opportunity comes, you're ready. Whether that's through education, through training, whatever that takes. You know, not to say you have to do those things, but if I didn't have my degrees, I would not be sitting here. And that was an aspect of that. If I did not have the fire experience, I would not be sitting here. If I wasn't an investigator, if I wasn't a battalion chief. So you're exactly right. All those played into me sitting here today.
So what's next? You mentioned vision a little while ago. I've seen several studies. By 2030, we're going to have 55,000 people when you add the SIDs and everything in. We're going to eventually need a new fire station. Is that something you're already looking at in the first couple months?
Absolutely. So we're looking up off of 370, kind of over there by Amazon within the next couple of years.
Makes sense, yeah.
We're just watching how things grow. You know, you have to have the tax base to kind of bring those things in because, you know, just with the latest increases in cost and building, you know, a station we could have put in 4 or 5 years ago for $15 million is now doubled or whatever it is. So you start looking at that and we're even, I started thinking about too with police and they're expanding and I said maybe we should do a joint facility. And then one of the city administrators, Phil Green, who was here at the time, kind of mentioned to me, you know, what about ensuring that, you know, Public Works has a place too. So when you start building these structures and stuff, start thinking multi-use if we can. But yes, we're looking in that area. We're looking 72nd and Capehart as you start to see call volume develop out there. But you got to get, you know, things in place. There's got to, you know, the residents and stuff is moving in that direction. A lot of it too is just not so much building the infrastructure, but it's who's going to staff this stuff and do we have the right span of control, so to speak. As we grow, we're going to need other battalion chiefs. We're going to need more captains. We're going to need more of an administrative side of the department that right now is just handled by a couple of us.
Right.
And so my mind is thinking through some of those areas too, of how do you keep up with that as well, because personnel, that's your greatest resource. We want to look out for them, but it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you got to look at when you move on.
Last two things. Our series is called PFD Always Ready. What does that mean to you as a firefighter, someone who's been in fire service for 30 years? What does always ready mean to you?
To me, it's we have an obligation to the people that we serve, and I mean, it really impacts us that no matter what the situation is, we're ready for whatever we're going to take. And I am confident that the folks that show up there are going to be able to mitigate, handle, make better. I call it creating good outcomes. That's what we're here to do. We take resources, whether it be people, capital, monies, we put it into systems and how we're going to manage things, and then the output is how do we respond? And part of that's that being ready,
Right.
but I call it good outcomes. When we respond to the medical emergency, we want a good outcome. When we respond to the combustion event, we want good outcomes. And good outcomes is not only mitigating whatever we're dealing with, but doing it in a safe manner so that we're protecting our own people.
Right.
You know, and that we're, you know, if there is something that comes up that we aren't ready for, how do we prepare the next time? So yeah.
Last thing, and I always ask people this: you live around here, so you've been to a lot of things in Papillion. But is there something, an event or an activity or a place that you really like, something that you want to highlight? It's your time. Is there something that you look at? And I really love that.
I'm a big pro-military. I have two sons. Two are in the Marine Corps. One's still in, and one has just separated. Big pro-military guy. So I live in Settlers Creek. People will recognize my house as you turn off of 72nd onto Settlers Creek Drive going east. My house is the first house with all these flags in the back. You can't miss it. So I'm very pro-military, very public safety, very, in a sense, how those organizations serve others.
Yeah.
So my special place is Halleck Park. When I went over there to see that display with all the veterans and then the Gold Star moms, and that impacts me because there's people that paid ultimate sacrifices. They're on those walls.
Oh yeah.
There are people that served that maybe didn't pay an ultimate sacrifice, but served sacrificially, and you want to remember that. And it's those are the types of reminders that reflect to me of what I need to be doing as a fire chief, how I need to serve within a community, because there's people that did it before me.
Yeah, you look at Veterans Park, and the mayor didn't serve, but he is so behind all of that stuff and making sure that we got the Gold Star Memorial and we have all those great figurines there. It's amazing that we're so tied to the military. So
yes,
it makes you feel at home, especially if you're a former military.
Yes,
so,
and it's a neat, the way they got it set up is just
it's
neat.
pretty cool.
It's really a neat place. So I focus on that. I'm looking forward to what the Vietnam Memorial will look like there off 108th, and so I am encouraged to hear that we're going forward with those things and never forgetting those that paid the ultimate sacrifice for us or went to places to protect our freedom. Not because they wanted to, because they had to and felt an obligation, and that's how I want to live here as the fire chief.
No doubt. Chief, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, welcome, and thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Join us again next time when we speak with someone else. Both make Papillion feel like home.